host, and I have with me today our guest, Conrad Jestmore. He's working on a new book, and he's finished an old one where he's worked food into his book. And what are you cooking for us today?
I'm going to fix a little Italian type of snack like Jimmy O'Reilly would fix. It's going to be a caprese salad, although it's a modified caprese salad of mozzarella, tomatoes with some basil and Italian parsley. And then there'll be a pillow of ravioli that is black bean and red pepper in ravioli in a cilantro dough. And then I will cook for that. I will cook a brown butter sage sauce. And I'll be using 3 herbs from my garden, which we'll talk about when we go out there.
That sounds incredible. So lead the way.
Okay. I'd like to take you on a kind of cook's tour of my cooking garden here in my backyard. Neat. So, moving up here, on this side of the garden, we've got potatoes that are coming on. They're not quite ready yet.
And nice.
Onions. One came up this morning. I haven't brought it in to use yet.
That's a great looking one.
But there's an onion right there. And this is one of my cooking herbs, thyme. And behind it, the scrawny plant is one of my basils. It hasn't done too well, but I use basil a lot in my cooking. Over here, we've got curry, which is great in scrambled eggs. Lemon balm, which makes a nice tea. Chives, good in a lot of dishes, as well as potatoes. And then over here, we've got various lettuces, onions, radishes. Carrots are just starting to come up now. Cilantro, a cooking herb, and then my other lettuces, the mesclun mix is there. On the other side, there's Italian parsley and arugula. And back here, rosemary, right here. And we've got a number of tomato plants in and around.
That's huge.
And then over here, more cooking herbs. We've got marjoram, which I use instead of oregano, sage, and my good basil plant right here.
That's a lovely plant.
And that pretty well rounds out the cooking herbs. So what I'm going to do next is snip a few herbs. I'm going to use 3 different of my garden herbs in the cooking that we're going to do today. So first of all, I will clip a little Italian parsley. Always use Italian parsley, not the curly stuff. This has so much more flavor in it. That's one caveat there. And then we'll use a little bit of the basil here in the caprese salad. And we'll also need some sage to go into the brown butter sauce that we're going to make here. I think I'll take a couple more leaves of that along with me. And so with our 3 herbs, we'll go in and get ready to do some magic in the kitchen. And we'll begin by putting 3 pillows of the black bean, red pepper, ravioli, and cilantro dough into boiling water. Then I've started the caprese salads, or as I call it, the modified caprese salads already. True caprese salad would just have tomatoes, mozzarella with some basil on it and some good olive oil. But I've added some black olives, obviously, and in addition to the basil, I'm also going to chop up some of the Italian parsley to go with that. And then we'll put a really good quality imported Italian olive oil across the top of that. So, we'll start with the basil that I just picked, which we've washed in the sink.
It really smells good.
Pungent basil aroma there. And I'll show off my knife skills here. Every good cook should have, well, every good cook and every good murder mystery writer should have good knife skills,
well,
I think.
I'll tell you, that's a beautiful knife, too.
Thank you. Okay, and having done a chiffonade on the basil, we'll sprinkle that over our caprese salad.
I'm going
And then go to the Italian parsley. Like I picked more than enough of that. A little bit goes a long way. Again, we'll do a rough cut. As my guru Mario Batali, who I study on the cooking channel, as he would say, do a rough cut. And with that, sprinkle over the caprese, intermixing with the basil. Kind of get a little bit out on the sides to contrast with the white plate. So you got a nice presentation there. And this is my imported Italian olive oil that I use sparingly because of the expense, but it's got that extra pungent fall pressing aroma and taste to it. So we will drizzle a little of that over the caprese. And then something else that I'm going to add that wouldn't traditionally be on a caprese would be to take a good quality balsamic vinegar and just do a couple splashes of that. You don't want too much or it becomes overpowering. And that finishes off the caprese salad. Okay. So while we're waiting for the ravioli to finish cooking, we'll bring up another burner here. And I have, we've already got about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in there for sauteing, and I will add to that 1 chopped shallot that we will saute. And that is going to form the basis of the brown butter and sage sauce. So after those shallots have sauteed for a couple of minutes, we'll add the butter and brown it, and then put the sage in and bring that flavor into it.
How did you become interested in cooking? Did you always like to do this, or is it something that developed later in your life?
Well, I had thought it was something that developed later in my life when I started 10, 15 years ago watching the cooking channel. I'm just fascinated by it. And but when I got thinking about it, I thought all the way back to my youth. I got a cooking badge in Boy Scouts when I was about 13, 14 years old, and I started remembering that, and I loved it. So I guess I've had it a long, long time.
So, do you prepare most of the meals?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
My wife's got a few specialties that she does, but I do most of it. Okay, the shallots have cooked, and what we will do now is turn the heat up and add the butter. And for a lot of dishes, you know, you just want melted butter to melt. But for this, you actually want it to boil, sizzle, and it partially caramelizes, and because of that is the term brown butter, the brown butter sauce. And after it's done that, which is about this stage right here with the bubbles in it, you can take the chopped sage, and notice the sizzle, as that just starts sizzling up, and then you immediately pull it off and let that settle down. And then just before we get ready to plate this, we'll add a little bit of the pasta water to that. The starch from the pasta water just thickens it up and gives it much more consistency and flavor. Like I said, we'll add about a little bit of pasta water, bring it back to a boil again, and it will give consistency, added flavor, and even a better visual appeal to our brown butter sage sauce, I think. All right. they say on the cooking channel, I'm going to plate the dish. Before I add the sauce, we'll put a little bit of grated Parmesan on top. Then comes the brown butter sage sauce. And a touch more Parmesan on top of that. All right. And this calls for nice red wine, if you care for a little bit of that. I've chosen a Spanish red rather than an Italian. And let's see how that pairs up with these selections here. Okay. And as they say in Italy, instead of cheers, chin chin.
Chin chin.
Yes. All right. Dig in and see what you think of what a typical Jimmy O'Reilly meal or snack would be like.
Good.
That's good. Well, you went for the ravioli first, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I went straight for the salad.
I'll try the salad.
Take a little bite of the mozzarella with tomato.
Wow.
Okay, I've done good, I guess.
I love this.
Okay.
Oh my God. It's incredible.
A lot of competing flavors there that don't cancel each other out, but you get a lot of flavors coming through. Before I read an excerpt, I would like to give you one brief aspect of my cooking philosophy as an author, and that is that I always cook with wine. Sometimes I even put it in the food, but that's beside the point. So I would like to read an excerpt from River of Murder, which is the first book in the Jimmy O'Reilly murder mystery series. The second book will be out in November of this year. It's entitled Fields of Death. Jimmy O'Reilly, the private investigator in this book, is also an avid cook, much like me. And like me, he also has an herb garden that he clips from in his backyard. So we do have some similarities there. Anyway, two-paragraph excerpt from River of Murder, dealing with Jimmy O'Reilly's cooking. And this is after he's had a particularly tough day. I felt the drain of what had been a long day. It was late, and I hadn't eaten, so it needed to be something quick and simple. 10 minutes I had the pasta ready, al dente, tossed in my best olive oil, added some chopped tomatoes and black olives and crumbled feta over the top to melt into it. I grabbed a little basil from the terrace herbs, did a chiffonade, sprinkled it over the top, and settled in with a glass of red. Wouldn't you know it, the only thing open was a bottle of Brunello, left over from a dinner the previous week. Damn, sometimes you just have to make do. While I sipped the Italian Brunello, I kept picturing Bob and Vernon chewing on their toothpicks outside of Date's cafe. Someone who was there on Saturday morning surely saw Vernon leave. Someone must know where he went and what he did and how he spent the last few hours of his life on Earth. One of those someones might be Buford Thomas. You can get a copy of River at Murder here in Wichita locally at Watermark Books, or you can purchase it from my website, www.conradjustmore.com. You can also get it at Amazon, and it's available both in print and as an ebook.
Well, Conrad, we thank you so much for being with us today and taking all the time to show us all your wonderful cooking secrets and telling us about your book, teaching me how to be a cultured lady. I try very hard, you can see. Anyway, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
And that's it for Keyhole Conversations.